My friends, pay close attention because something changed last night and it changed for good. And it wasn't me who said that, it was Trump himself, loud and clear in front of the whole world. He came out publicly and said that the United States no longer just wants to prevent Iran from having certain capabilities, now they're going to put a complete end to it. And in the same speech, he warned, "We're going to attack Iran again tonight in honor of the American soldiers who fell." Because that's the other tough news of the day. There are already at least 4 American soldiers who have lost their lives in this new round against Iran. I'll explain who these soldiers are, and there's more. The American military command has just completed the 9th consecutive night of attacks inside Iran without skipping a single day, 9 nights, and the Washington Post summed all of this up in one headline, folks, just one headline. The United States is on the verge of an all-out war against Iran. That's exactly what I've been showing you here for days. And here's what I'm going to walk you through in this video. I'm going to show you why Trump's statement from early this morning is the most important of this entire war. I'll show you the 9th night's target map, which for the first time included northern Iran. And I'm going to show you the regime's reaction to these American casualties, a reaction that exposes once and for all who they really are. And I'm also going to show you a diplomatic opening that appeared right in the middle of this exchange of fire. And at the end of it all, when everyone is only looking at Iran, I'm going to turn the camera to Gaza, because a lot of people are asking about Gaza. And I'm going to show you what Hamas is doing to its own people right now. It's something that almost no one had the courage to publish, but I brought it here for you. So stay until the end, because this last part connects everything, guys. All breaking news, straight from Israel, straight from where everything is happening. Whoever is joining, go ahead and hit the like button, guys. Hit the like button, give it a thumbs up so you don't forget to do it at the end of the video. Local time, 12:50 p.m. 4:56 p.m. on July 20th. The date is up here for those who ask, "Davey, what's the date of the video?" Look here, up here, guys. The date is right there, okay? So before I open each piece, let me give you the framework of the day in just one sentence. The mask has come off. Pay attention to this because it's the key to the whole video, guys. For months, the official goal of this war was always described in veiled terms. To prevent capabilities, open the strait, degrade the program, weaken. No one said out loud the word that everyone was thinking, neither Netanyahu nor Trump, and this morning Trump said, complete end. And when the most powerful man on the planet, and he is currently the most powerful man on earth on the planet, right guys? So, change. Preventing capabilities to putting a complete end. He's not talking about radar anymore. He's not talking about launchers. He's talking about the regime. So keep that expression in mind. Complete end, because it will come up again here in my analysis at the end of this video. And now let's go to Trump's statement, because it came all at once and each sentence is a step. Pay attention to the sequence, guys. The first thing he said, "We struck Iran very hard last night. According to him, Iran suffered very heavy damage." He said that Iran might, maybe, still have some missiles and some drones, but not in large numbers. In other words, he's saying that the regime's arsenal is running out. I have to disagree. I don't think it's running out yet, not yet, but he says it's running out. Second sentence, Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. This is the same old pretext as always, right? The goal would be a nuclear weapon. We know they were producing it, and every time they were always 2 weeks away from completion. Those 2 weeks turned into years, and we're still supposedly 2 weeks away from that atomic weapon. This is the same as always. We already know this story. Third, this is what changes everything. We are no longer satisfied with just preventing certain capabilities. Now we're going to put an end to this completely. Fourth sentence. We control the Strait of Hormuz and Iran no longer controls anything. And then he said that usual phrase, with that air of someone who's in control of everything, Trump being Trump. We keep attacking and let's see what happens from now on. And the fifth, the most important of all, we're going to attack again tonight in honor of the American soldiers. And now let's go to my interpretation here, and it's mine, okay guys? You can even disagree with this. This is no longer just a war of attrition. This is the man announcing that the phase of cutting Iran back is over and the phase of ripping it out by the roots has begun. Ending this completely is the language of someone who has decided maybe this time to go all the way. And in my view, that means just one thing, the end of the regime. This isn't about missiles or radar, it's about toppling Tehran's rulers. But manage your emotions. I know this stirs feelings because I won't hide the other side of the coin from you. Back in April, for those who remember, right, and for those who don't, I'm here to remind you, Trump had already used the strongest word a president can use. He said it very clearly that an entire civilization would disappear, remember that? He said that on that very night, guys. He said that an entire civilization would die and never come back if Iran didn't open the strait. Does anyone remember that? I remember it very well, guys. And what did he do at the crucial moment? He backed down. About 40 minutes before his own deadline expired, Trump's deadline, he agreed to a 2-week ceasefire, which in the end turned into months. Do you guys remember that? So keep your feet on the ground with me about what he's saying. Trump talks big, but his words don't always turn into actions of the same magnitude. Because as long as they don't go up there to Tehran, it's really hard to actually overthrow that regime. That's why I tell you, with all sincerity, I'll only start to believe that this time it's really the end on the day I see a regime leader being eliminated inside Tehran once again. In other words, it's not just a statement, it's not a threat, it's not a headline that convinces me. It's action, folks, it's action. As long as the regime's leadership doesn't start to fall, this complete end is still just a promise, and it's the next few days that will tell, or maybe the next few hours, who knows. That's why I'll be here every day, folks. Now let me take you to the map because the targets from last night also tell this same story in a way that no statement ever could. Until yesterday, the pattern was siege, bridges, tunnels, access points, all in the south, all right next to the Strait of Hormuz, everything. A surgeon cutting off the routes there. You remember this very well. I've drawn this here several times, but tonight the map changed shape, and pay close attention to this detail because it's huge. Guys, I'm gonna put it here. Let's go to our little map so we can understand where this target was. Opening the map here quickly, for the first time since this new wave started, the Americans, they went up north, okay? Up north here, look. In this region here, and they hit the city of Tabriz. Tabriz is not the strait, guys. The strait is down here. Look, the strait is down here. Tabriz is up here, okay? Here is Tabriz. Look, Tabriz. This is the city. It's up there, guys, almost on the border with Armenia and almost on the border with Azerbaijan. It's really close there. And the target there was a city, a mountain, a missile city. In the south, it's always the same, right? We already know that. They hit Bushehr again and struck the missile base there in 2 waves. And they also swept through the province of Khuzestan, that region that's rich in oil and is located right down here. This region here borders Iraq, for those who remember, hitting ports and militia posts one after another. I'm going to spare you the rest of the names since they're extremely complicated, okay? There were several targets in this region, but the important thing is the scale. In just one night, the attack stretched from north to south, that is, from end to end, right here in this place, guys, in this region, okay? So, keep this map in mind. In fact, we had another earthquake in Iran today, this morning, at 7:27 in the morning, a magnitude 5.2 earthquake. We had an earthquake here, look, yesterday. Remember that I brought this up to you? And another earthquake here as well, in Tehran, of magnitude 5.2. This just happened. It was at 7:22, I think, in the morning, local Middle Eastern time. Another earthquake happened. In this region here, very close to the other one, right? There are always earthquakes. It's not something new in Iran. Iran always has an earthquake here and there that shakes this region. Check out the difference, guys. Let me turn off the phone for a second. Notice the key change from last night. This time, there were no reports of collapsed bridges, no tunnels. At least we didn't have any reports. The American command says it targeted military command centers, air defense systems, naval capability, boats, missile and drone launch bases, and communication networks. Do you understand what's changing now? In previous days, the Americans would take out the bridge, cut off access. This is meant to isolate a region, cutting off reinforcements and escape. But today was different. Today they went straight to the cities where the regime keeps its missiles and to the command centers, in the north and in the south at the same time. And this is no longer just isolating, this is dismantling. It's the complete end of Trump moving beyond rhetoric, so to speak, and appearing on the map on the very night he said that phrase. Now, let me make something very clear to you all. Part of these tunnels is already being restored. They're trying to find alternative routes. I saw images of several alternative routes being created, and I also saw images of that tunnel that was hit reopened once again. In other words, they need to hit that place again where the American Air Force already struck, to go back once more and target those zones, those alternative areas again. I think up to this point, this video is already worth your like. It's definitely worth it. So smash that like button because it really helps the channel, guys. It helps a lot. And you, I know you're not subscribed, so subscribe now and turn on the notification bell. This story updates hourly, and the notification bell alerts you to new content. And share it in your family group. I always say this. Share it in your family group, guys, because a lot of people think this is already over back in March and April, but it's not over, guys. It's happening again right now, okay? Today is July 20th local time, 1:05 p.m. And now the price of all this American blood. Do you remember that yesterday I told you about the soldier who was missing, right? Do you remember that? After that missile that hit the base in Jordan, it landed exactly where they were sleeping, guys. They were sleeping at the time, there was no siren at the base, no alarm at all, and the missile landed right in the barracks. So he disappeared. Because he disappeared, he probably turned to dust. That's the truth, guys. He turned to dust. So the missile hit there, and the guy basically disintegrated. So, the American command reported that they found remains at the site where the missile landed and said that they are most likely from this soldier. The verification is still ongoing at the time of recording this video, so it might be announced later who it is. Officially, it's still ongoing and he is still considered a presumed casualty, okay? He hasn't been officially declared a casualty since the remains haven't been confirmed as his, but we know it's likely him. In practice, he's just another name on the list. And it didn't stop there. Almost at the same time, the American command reported that another soldier lost his life and one more was injured in an operation to neutralize an Iranian drone in Iraq that had already been shot down. They likely tried to disarm the bomb, which must have exploded in their faces. That's probably what happened. The American Secretary of State made a point of saying that this loss in Iraq was an accident during the handling of the drone. So, count them with me, the 2 soldiers who fell at the base in Jordan, plus this one in Iraq, plus the missing one whose remains have already been found. The American command itself says that just in these last few days there are already at least 4 names, 4 soldiers. And if you look at the entire war since February, the numbers vary from source to source. The official Pentagon count mentioned 13, but independent surveys were already putting that total between 15 and 17 soldiers. Either way, that's a lot of American blood for a campaign that almost nobody wanted inside the United States. Now it's funny, with this disagreement in numbers, this would never happen in Israel, folks. You see how the United States is such a huge country, right? Even the number of soldiers, one says one thing, another says something else. There's no unanimity about how many there actually were. In Israel, that's not possible. It would never happen because the country is smaller. And now pay attention to the regime's response to these deaths of American soldiers because it shows the soul of this thing. The Revolutionary Guard released a statement thanking who you ask? The Jordanians. I even saw an image of a Jordanian raising his hand to the sky as the missiles were passing by, praying there, shouting and giving thanks for the Iranian missiles. According to them, the Jordanians supposedly collaborated, provided information, and that helped hit the American base. You remember that back then there was talk that maybe Russia and China were involved in providing Iran with the exact location of strategic targets. I'm not talking here about the soldiers' barracks, okay? I'm talking about more sensitive targets that were hit at that base in Jordan. That's what they said. And there's also this information that Jordanians may have helped the regime, like helped by giving exact GPS points, exact locations, taking pictures exactly what is forbidden to do. And look, a lot of people will say right away that this is a lie, okay? That it's something made up by the regime. I'm not so sure about that, guys, because there are details here that almost no one has the courage to say out loud. I'm not accusing anyone, okay? I'm not accusing, but I'm sharing some information here. Jordan is an ally of the United States on paper, but most of the Jordanian population, they're of Palestinian origin, guys. Most of the people there are Palestinian. Estimates say it's more than half, between 50 and 60%. Although the government avoids releasing this official number and it's never been public, many in the majority hate Israel and the United States and openly support Iran. So when the regime says that there was help coming from inside Jordan, I don't rule anything out, guys, nothing. There could very well be some truth to that. But there's a part of this statement that's even more serious, and there are no 2 sides to this. It's an open call for Muslims around the world to attack American soldiers wherever they find them. In other words, they're calling for terrorist cells around the world to wake up. This isn't a war between armies, this is incitement to terror. So keep that in mind because by the end of the video, it'll all make sense to you. And while the regime was boasting about hitting the Americans, what was it doing to its Arab neighbors right next door? The same thing as always, only worse. In Kuwait, the power station and water desalination plant were hit again, and the result showed up in a video. Here it is, trucks passing by, okay? You'll see this video soon if you haven't paid attention. It's about to appear here and has circulated globally. The Kuwaitis had to go out and turn on portable generators. You know, those huge generators, guys. Not the kind you can just carry inside your house. Really big generators to power entire neighborhoods and each person with their own small generator, right? Because the grid couldn't handle it anymore. The entire country is in the desert, over 50 decks and has no power. And in Bahrain, more sirens, folks. In Erbil, in Iraqi Kurdistan, more fire as well. And there was an image that sums up everything this regime is. Take a look at it. Next to me is an image we're displaying in the middle, along with the others. I'll tell you which one is which in a moment, okay? It's a photo that leaked from Avas in southern Iran, and it shows a missile launcher installed inside a hospital courtyard. I think this image is here. I think I put it in. If I didn't, I'll bring it another time or I'll share it here in the WhatsApp group. Here's the QR code for anyone who wants to join this WhatsApp channel, okay? I'll post this image there too. Inside a hospital, guys, a missile launcher installed inside the hospital courtyard, okay? In the middle of the buildings, right next to where the patients are. Do you understand the twisted move of the regime here? They put a weapon right next to the patient. If the Americans don't shoot, the launcher will fire freely against Israel, against the Arab countries. If the Americans shoot, the regime runs to the camera and shouts to the world that America hit a hospital full of patients. Human beings become shields. Patients become political ammunition. And if this reminds you of something, it's not a coincidence. It's exactly the strategy that Hamas uses in Gaza every single day. The rocket that's under the school, the command center under the hospital, the terrorist hiding among the family, it's the same playbook, and this is not by chance, because deep down it's the same mastermind behind it all. Keep this in mind, because at the end of the video, I'll show you Hamas doing something even worse to their own people. It's important for me to share this with you, right? Because if I don't do this, who else is going to bring it? And look, there's something else I need you to take note of, because it changes the narrative that the regime tries to sell. The Gulf citizens themselves are furious with Iran. There have been rare interviews with residents of Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Jordan, and they're angry, but not at the Americans. They're upset about the Iranian aggression targeting them. The regime that spent 40 years selling itself as the defender of Muslims is now being cursed by the Muslims in the region that it is itself attacking. That shows the other side. And it's good because it was a report that came out in Saudi Arabia. It shows the leftists who think it's only governments fighting the regime that's not true. The people are also fighting against this regime. The people of the Gulf are against the regime. But what about here? The story takes on a new dimension too. In the midst of all this fire, a gap appeared, a small opening for diplomacy. The American Secretary of State said that the United States remains open to a diplomatic solution. Marco Rubio said that, with just one condition: that Iran stops attacking ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Stop attacking ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Stop this once and for all, and we can start talking again. And he also made a remark that matches exactly what I told you here yesterday, that there is a growing rift inside Iran. On one side, the hardline extremists who want to keep attacking the Americans and neighboring countries, and on the other, those who are terrified of the collapse of the Iranian economy, those people who are worried about money. And on the side of Tehran, the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed it. Iran has indeed received proposals from mediating countries to reduce the tension, and these proposals are under review. In other words, we're starting to talk once again here about a ceasefire, about talks, but we have to remember what was said back then by Trump. This time we're going to negotiate under fire. As long as there's war, negotiations will happen. If you want to talk to us, that's no problem at all. But the war goes on. It won't stop for a single minute. It won't stop for a single minute. That's how it really has to be, folks. So put these two things together with me. On one side, Trump talking about a complete end and striking for the ninth night. On the other, a back door open, mediators on the phone. And a regime split from within, with one side wanting to negotiate before everything collapses. And this tug of war inside. The tug of war, right, between the two, inside the very Iranian leadership. That will decide what happens in the coming nights. While this is being decided, both sides are stacking up weapons. Pay attention to these signs here because they don't lie. The New York Times reported that the Americans, they're bringing fighter jets from Europe to the Middle East, the most advanced ones there are, F-22, F-35, even more are arriving here in the region. And there was also a detail that only those who follow closely noticed. The United States brought back to the region plane, actually a spy drone, unmanned. It costs about $200 million, guys, each unit. Each one costs $200 million. Of course, a drone is unmanned. It's a drone. Guys, it's a huge spy drone. The most sophisticated one they have. One of the most expensive eyes of the American Navy. They had taken this drone out of the region weeks ago, afraid that it would be shot down. Because Iran shot down several American drones and they took the most expensive one out of here. Now they've brought it back. When you bring back an eye that costs $200 million, one you were hiding. It's because you need to see everything before a major operation. This is preparation. And there's more powder kegs outside. The Shiite militias in Iraq, the ones that are connected to Iran, they issued a warning. If the campaign against Iran grows, they will enter into direct confrontation against all American bases and American interests in the region. For now, they say they won't attack anyone, so it's a warning. Who is attacking American bases with drones if it's not Iran or the militias? So who could it be? It's the kind of warning, folks, that comes during tense times. It could set things off at any second. Imagine an American base over there in Iraq being attacked. Physically, not just by missiles and drones, but by those armed militias around those bases. Folks, it's a real big war. And the most important sign of all came from inside Israel. Now at night, Prime Minister Netanyahu called. He called a security meeting. A restricted one, the kind that's closed with few people in the room because of the escalation with Iran. And the Israeli press summed up the mood with just one question. This is heading toward war, and the conflict will return to Israel. When the cabinet locks itself in a small room like that one, on a night like this, it's not routine. It's Israel preparing for the possibility of being pulled in. And there's another piece of information, the plane. The Prime Minister's plane, remember the plane, the Wings of Zion, so it took off. Destination? Unknown. I just want to remind you that one of the biggest signs the last time Israel entered this war was exactly this plane taking off, and it went to Germany. It stayed parked in Germany so it wouldn't be hit by shrapnel from Iranian attacks. It left the region, so it just left again once more with an unknown destination. Nobody knows where this plane is going. It just took off, folks. It's 13:16 now, Israel time. It just took off. And another sign. Watch the Israeli civilian planes. The moment Israeli civilian planes start leaving here, the El Al planes, Arkia Israel, which are the Israeli airlines, when they start leaving the region, because that's what happened before the 40-day war, they abandoned Israeli airspace. They were no longer parked here. Israel's planes were parked in other countries, so they wouldn't risk being hit by shrapnel or even by a missile. Because Ben Gurion Airport will become an Iranian target. The moment this happens again, it will become an Iranian target, maybe even the main Iranian target, because all the American refueling planes are at these airports, at the civilian airport. And look, folks, none of this is happening in a peaceful world, okay? None of this happens now in a world at peace. While the Middle East is boiling, Russia this morning claimed that Ukraine launched 400 drones in a single night toward Moscow. 400. The two biggest war zones on the planet are active at the same time. And I've already told you, and I repeat, the whole world is slipping back into the darkness of war. And Israel is right at the seam between one front and the other. I make a point of talking about this war here. A little about Ukraine and Russia, because it hasn't ended. The world has simply forgotten about this war, as if it's not happening anymore. Guys, it's a war of huge proportions going on over there. The numbers are impressive. 400 drones, 700 drones. These are really significant numbers. Impressive. Really impressive. And now, as I promised at the beginning, I'm going to turn the camera here. Because while the whole world is looking at Iran, there's a story coming out of Gaza that shows better than any of my analyses who these groups that the Iranian regime created, armed and financed really are. Pay close attention because this came out in a British newspaper. Seriously, I'll put the link to the source from this British newspaper here in the description of this video for those who say, I don't believe it, show the link. It's a very serious British newspaper, not a right-wing paper. And it also includes reports from Gaza residents, from Palestinians. And it's about Hamas. Hamas is attacking food distribution points inside Gaza, not the Israeli army. Hamas. It's not new, right, guys? They're hijacking humanitarian aid, food meant for the people, and threatening their own. Listen closely. There's a case I need to explain slowly so you understand how serious this is. According to a resident, armed Hamas men were positioned near a shelter full of women, children, and elderly people who had been displaced. Remember those tents? So, a group of residents asked them, please, to leave so that the shelter wouldn't become a target for the Israeli army. The terrorists left, but then they came back, and they came back in even greater numbers. They stormed the shelter and fired, even shooting into the air among the women. Women, men, children, everyone. They opened fire and even took several people as hostages. And now comes the sickest part of this story. Pay attention. Hamas refuses to release the civilians they captured until they are paid. Paid? Why? For the ammunition they used? Can you believe that? They charged the families. The price of the bullets they used to invade the shelter and capture those same people who were there. About 24,500 shekels. That's what they want in order to release the people. You capture an innocent person and charge their family for the bullet you used to capture them. More absurd than that. There isn't, right? And it didn't stop there. Another source also said that Hamas is smuggling goods hidden inside the trucks of humanitarian organizations to raise money. And last week, Hamas terrorists invaded a warehouse of the UN World Food Program, the UN, at a location, a distribution point in Jabalia, and they attacked two drivers who were delivering this food. It was so blatant that even the UN, which never says anything, people, which rarely points the finger at Hamas, had to condemn what it called a dangerous pattern of intimidation, violence, and theft against humanitarian operations. And now put together everything I showed you today, people, you'll see it's all the same thing from beginning to end. The regime that puts a missile launcher inside the hospital in Avaz, the regime that uses the patient as a shield, and Hamas, which is a product of this same regime. There's nothing more to say. It's a product of the same regime. Stealing food from their own starving people and demanding ransom for the bullet. It's the same hand. It's the same method. It's people who use their own people as bargaining chips on both sides of the Middle East. And that's why I told you at the beginning that this last part ties everything together. When Trump speaks, in the end, when he decides to root it out completely, it's not about territory, it's not about oil, it's about shutting down the factory that produces all of this, the hospital turning, trench, the innocent becoming a shield, food turning into a weapon. This is the root, people. And that's what's on the table now. So to wrap up, what you really need to watch for in the next few hours. Not in the next few days, in the next few hours, that's all that matters. First, if Trump's promise of a complete end will actually go beyond words, if he will really follow through and turn it into a ground operation, the return of those $200 million spy planes is also a sign to watch for. If he's seeing it, it's because someone is getting ready to step in. Second, the diplomatic opening. If the faction of the regime that wants to negotiate wins over the hardliners, we might have a pause once again. If the hardliners win and keep attacking the Strait, Trump promised he won't stop, that he'll keep going and escalate. This fight is coming from inside Tehran, and you'll see the result in the sky. Folks, it's their fight, and we'll see the outcome. If the faction that wants to cooperate, if they defeat the hardline faction, though it's tough, we'll probably have another pause. Another ceasefire there. Third, the Iraqi militias. If they get involved, this stops being the United States versus Iran and turns into a regional firestorm. I'm telling you, the Iraqi militias are extremely strong, folks. They're as strong as Hezbollah from Lebanon. They were. And they're not that strong anymore, but it's the same thing, except they exist in Iraq and they're there. Untouchable. Since the war began, these militias have remained untouchable. Nothing has happened to them. They still have everything they started with, and even more now. They've gained even more during this time. And all this time we've spent here at war, they haven't been affected. So, keep an eye on Iraq, guys, because a lot can happen there. The rest, for now, is just background noise. I should just remind you here that Iraq's Prime Minister promised Trump that he will disarm these same militias. Just that by itself could trigger a huge war inside Iraq, which could also spread throughout the region. I'll wrap up here with the truth, guys. No illusions. Today, Trump unmasked his real objective. He said in front of the world that he wants a complete end. And on the same night, the map of the attacks moved north for the first time, the missile cities became targets, and the fourth. American coffin will probably return home today. On the other side, the regime puts cannons in hospitals and orders Americans to be killed around the world, and its offspring in Gaza demands ransom from the starving in exchange for a bullet. This is today's picture. I'm not telling you this will end tomorrow. I'm telling you that for the first time, both sides stopped pretending, okay? Trump stopped pretending it was just about capability. And the regime stopped pretending to be anyone's defender. Each one showed their true face today. And when the masks fall, two sides at once. When the mask drops on both sides, the game is in its final stage. I'm live from Israel in the Judean mountains, tracking every move, flight, and decision in the coming hours. When the next piece moves, I'll return to explain it in real time, piece by piece, unlike the mainstream media. Subscribe, turn on notifications, share, and send to your family group. Let's finish as always with our Hebrew lesson. Today's phrase is shorter than yesterday's. Amasera adiante. Amasera, nafla. Amasera, nafla. The mask has fallen, right? So remember this. Write it down. Tonight, I'll put this on screen for you and later add it to Google's auto subtitles. I'll fix it here on YouTube so the full subtitle will appear as it should. Eunice, thank you for the super sticker. Agnaldo, thank you for the super sticker as well. Pozelas, Alexandra, where is Bibi? Where did Bibi go? Could the conflict start again today? No, he didn't. Bibi is still in Israel. He didn't leave. The plane left from here, okay? The plane was moved. It was the same thing. That happened last time. Davy means that the supplies and ammunition are on the way. My hand is itching here. We were born ready. And if they cut the internet, until next time, we are waiting. Israel and the United States to stand shoulder to shoulder to make history. Logan, live from Tehran. Thanks. Long. Loga. I hope that really the weapons are on the way. There. My friend, I really hope that the help is arriving there for you. My friends, this is just a quick live stream for now. Okay? But tonight, I'll bring more information because tonight looks like it's going to be once again a long night here in Israel, in the region here of the Middle East. Maybe start everything. Big hugs to all our friends in Israel. Thank you to all the collaborators and supporters of the channel for the super stick, for the pics, and for all those who send any kind of help to the channel. Thanks for your support. Liking and sharing already helps a lot. Hugs to all friends. See you at the next live.